How y'all doing? I got myself another knife today, and this one's really neat. It's a SixLeaf. Yeah, the box is just as kind of crappy as they have been for the other three that I've taken a look at. This one's also from RattleSnake here. Now I've only just opened this basically a few hours ago. Have not really done a whole lot with the knife, but yeah, here we are. This knife looks like it came straight out of Minecraft. But I do like what we got going on here on the back. It's not flush with it, but very much protects the blade, but probably does allow a little bit of flex there for it. We got a pocket clip with, it's kind of narrow for exactly where it has a contact, but it is kind of nice and long, and it does dip down here in the back to give you more room for, kind of the hem of your pants, I suppose. Kind of a neat sort of thing kind of going on there. We got a hole sort of thing kind of going on here, which isn't exactly the easiest way to deploy. We also have a flipper tab here, which I will try to use. There we go. It could probably use just a little bit of help with the action here, but as you can see, this thing has a Damascus blade on it. Now, it supposedly has a VG10 core. At least that's what everything has stated, but I don't think anybody's really tested it or anything like that. But do hope that that is indeed the case. And we can see actually on the blade that we do have some like file work that's been done on around the blade hole there. And you can actually see down in there that file work essentially does carry most of the way through there. It's pretty interesting. Now the locking mechanism on here, it's pretty close to a button lock or a plunge lock, except for this thing moves forward. I thought possibly it was a push button, seeing the pictures first time, but no, you push up and that kind of disengages it. And what I do have to say is it's fairly darn smooth. It is definitely riding on bearings. So it's kind of fun to play around with like that. But this thing is much further down on the handle than like an access lock would be. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. The pocket clip, that little tiny bit there is a little bit pointy, but that's only really bothersome when you're trying to deploy it. It disappears pretty nicely on the hand, so that's nice. The handle scales here are titanium, as well as the pocket clip, in case that wasn't brutally obvious. And we can see we have quite a bit of micro milling kind of going on all around the place. Now this does look pretty darn angular, but actually in the hand it's quite comfortable. They do a nice job of kind of rounding around this area to make it look quite 4-bit or 8-bit video gamey kind of thing. But very comfortable for the index finger choil there. And the flipper tab, while it does have some jimps and everything like that, doesn't curve back towards your finger, so it is comfortable to choke right up there. And that hole with those little file works and everything like that give you just a little bit of a jimping and a ramp. Makes it very, very comfortable. This is pretty darn... It's a Warncliffe, but, the top of it has that kind of reverse Tonto kind of look to it. I would still call this a Warncliffe, though. And, yeah, we also have this little groove sort of thing on both sides kind of going on there. Pretty nice and decorative as well. And we do have a gradual plunge grind, as you can kind of see from this reflection here. But you can see that it stops right around there. So you don't have... Yeah, so it stops, if you didn't see from the reflections, it stops about there. So you do have quite a bit for you to sharpen up. No problem at all. This thing did come with a micro scratch or two. It's kind of par for the course for a lot of Damascus steel knives in general because they use softer steel, usually 410 or something like that, on the top layer. So, that's doing its job by protecting the blade underneath. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but, it also depends on the price. If you are paying like several $1,000s for a custom maker's Damascus or something like that, Nichols Damascus, or I guess even Damasteel or something like that, then yeah, I would probably be a little bit more upset. But yeah, this is done kind of the same way as some of the other knives, like Civivis and Kaisers, and a whole bunch of the kitchen knife industry that's doing those kind of Japanese style knives. So that's pretty interesting. What I have not done is take this thing apart, so I do kind of want to do that. This does have a bit of an interesting mechanism, and I'm not quite sure exactly how it all works yet. But I can see, looking in here, that we do have milling kind of going out on both sides to kind of reduce some weight. Before I do open it up, though, I should probably get some measurements out of the way. And let's see, right from basically where that little pointy sort of thing is there, as you can see, we're a little over 3 inches. We're probably just shy of 3¼ or so. Which is actually pretty interesting because I can get a nice full 4-finger grip, and that usually happens much more with 3½ inch length knives. All right, let's see. I'm on millimeters, so let's go for the blade stock. Blade stock's 4 millimeters, so it's not a thin, skinny little guy. It is a full high flat grind there. Comes down to a reasonably thin edge. Not the absolute thinnest thing I've ever felt in the world, but still very, very capable. All right, and let's not turn it off. Let's go ahead and go to inches so I can figure out. I guess with the lock, it's going to be 0.67. Without that lock, it's going to be 0.58 of an inch. So a little bit thick, but I don't certainly imagine that would be the case because it does have to encase the whole lock system in the handle there. So from what I see so far, I see basically a pocket clip there, but I do see where it screws in there, and I see a pivot. I'm not sure exactly what else might or might not be holding this guy together. There might be a pen or something like that in the back there that's kind of holding it in there. I don't know. But yeah, you're going to experience the fun along with me. Now, this definitely looks like it's probably a T6 for the clip. And I was not wrong. Aha, that does hide another screw under there. But I do like that this isn't just a circular sort of thing. We do have a little bit of a wedge there to keep it nice and sturdy. I do like me that whole idea. Let's see, there's that screw there. And yeah, it does have a pin there like I kind of assumed. Alrighty, I'm going to also assume that this is T8 for, T8 for the pivot. Well, alright. Now what? Let me in, yo. I bet if I rock this a little bit, it will help. Maybe. Nope. That doesn't really feel like that's going to help. See, it does roll a little bit. But I want you to fully let go. You want to do that for me? I want you to do that for me. I don't know. Is this a Oh, this is another screw. Okay. Well, all right then. Okay. We're in. Yeah, okay, so we got an internal blade pin there. We have ceramic bearings and brass cages instead of nylon like we see on a lot of Tucsons. So that's a little bit different. In general, I don't particularly care one way or the other. Bearings work quite nice as bearings. Alright, so this is basically what kind of interfaces with the blade here. And yep, we just kind of have a nub there that fits there. Once it gets to that certain point, it can slide back to kind of keep it closed there. But that does mean that we do have a spring in here, something that can wear out. But the way that this thing is particularly working is you're stretching it to release it rather than it always being under tension. So that should have a little bit more longevity than something that's constantly under tension that you release. Something like a lot of other switchblades like the Kalashnikovs or something like that have. So that seems pretty neat. It also kind of seems like we probably have steel washers kind of going on here. Not quite sure. The post here is very, very, very much in place. So I don't know if that is intended to be removed or not, but I don't really feel the need to go any further with that. And yeah, we can see we do have little channels kind of cut out here on both sides for that. And it looks like they did that before they did the Damascus cladding on there. That way you can also see that in there. That's just, an order of operations. I don't really think it has to do one way or the other with, aesthetics or anything like that. And, yeah, it does look a little ugly around the blade stop pin there on that particular side. However, that's not visible at all throughout any of it, so I guess that's not really a huge problem. But maybe not the best thing to see in the entire world, because that is something that definitely happened as they were putting this pin in there, which means they were driving it through that side, and yep, kind of came out that way. But I mean, it still goes together. Obviously, the action on it's pretty nice and everything, so I'm just going to kind of ignore that and let it not bother me unless I do have problems with the blade later on down the line. Pretty interesting in general, though. Alright, so I guess while it's open and everything, I might as well do just a little bit of housekeeping. So I will clean these guys up. Those bearings feel quite free moving in there. So that's nice. Probably helps a lot with the action in general. And I got my bottle of cleanup juice here. That being, I use acetone. I would probably suggest, as always, rubbing alcohol does basically the same kind of thing, but isn't necessarily as dangerous to plastics as acetone could be. I just have a whole bunch of acetone, so I might as well use that instead. This thing had a very thin sheen of oil on the blade out of the box. It wasn't even really something that I could say was, wet or anything. It was more of a film. So, they've used a little bit more restraint than some of the D2 Tucsons that I've seen in the past. All right. Yeah. I do like this thing so far. It's fun to play with. It's not quite as comfortable to use as an access lock from a Benchmade or something like that so far that I've noticed. Just because that is so far back there. That being this locking mechanism here. Put a little bit in there. Get that nice other bearing in there. That would be nice. So I don't do anything stupid like put it back together like I've done with many other knives on this channel without paying attention to that whole thing. Alright, let's see. Alright, so that snapped back together. This side seems to be giving me a little bit of a trouble here. Not quite sure what yet. It's possible it's something that will work itself out when I put these pivot screws back in. So let's try that first. That feels a little off. That side does not. That doesn't feel bad necessarily. It is loose though. So this one's going to be a little bit fun to, I see. Try to figure the ins and outs of that in there. Maybe way too tight. What have I done? Might have been that side that was, it was that. Okay. Yeah, maybe a little bit more fiddly than most to kind of put back together, but that's fine. You'd probably kind of assume that from the inner mechanics that are at play in it. Hardware does seem pretty good, doesn't feel soft or anything like that, and hey, it's magnetic, that always helps. I at least appreciate it, for one, so that it's easy to pick up with my screwdrivers and whatnot, but also because if you actually drop it somewhere, being careless or whatnot, it's much easier to find with a magnet. See, it feels just a little tiny bit loose in the pivot there. It's still just an itty bitty tiny bit loose. Nice. Yeah, you can do it, but it's not the best experience. And the problem with rolling it is because you have this kind of a square point there that kind of interfaces with it. Not the best there. I think it was probably mostly designed just for the ramp. Balance point? Yeah, basically right there at the finger choil. Yeah, it's a pretty nice knife. Let's see, price. Let me kind of look that up. I think I got this for around 80 bucks, but I do think the first one that I saw sold for about 100 more than that, and that's also kind of around the price, like 150 to 180 that I've seen it listed for on Amazon. So I would probably suggest, if you are kind of interested in this, you might want to prowl around eBay and whatnot to kind of find something at a little bit better price, like I did. There is a particular seller that I've seen who has listed SixLeaf knives, and they're, I think, the only one, and it's where I've picked up a couple of SixLeaf knives, 2 out of the 4 of them now, because the other 2 I got from Amazon. And it's just a whole bunch of numbers, though. I'll try and throw that down into the description in case other people are curious. Let's see. There are 2 more SixLeaf knives that I've seen listed: the SL05 and SL06, and they're both just itty bitty tiny little fixed blade knives, made out of 440C. Not particularly something I'm super interested in, so I will give those a skip. But yeah, we'll see kind of how things go. It does kind of seem like their construction ideas seem pretty darn good. Some of the implementations have been a little, well, I don't know, more or less like the fit and finish kind of thing. Like the chunk of the blade you saw that was knocked out of here from putting the blade stop pin in there. There's also the fact that this guy is basically crushed, and that's kind of how it came. There was no damage to the box, so they do probably have a little bit of quality assurance things they need to work on. I'm going to try to fix this up at some point here anyway. So, yeah, definitely something you might want to keep in mind. But, yeah, this thing looked interesting to me. It's fun to play with. A lot more comfortable than I thought it was going to be based on the images. Yeah, so this was a fun video, kind of taking a look on the inside of this thing. I do like the design. Like the rest of them from SixLeaf, this is also supposedly a RattleSnake design, like all the rest of them, all 6 of them that have been released. Kind of makes me think that they might, I don't know, it might be something like Night Morning to Tucson, where that's kind of like their primary designer, or they have a lot more stake in the company and they're doing a lot of the initial designs, trying to spin off or something like that. Like I said, I'm not quite sure at this point, but yep, 3 out of the 4 of them have been pretty interesting that I've at least had my hands on here. Alrighty, well, that's basically all I have to say about this the Minecraft knife. Almost kind of looks like a knife. Well, it's closed. Like you can stab somebody with a Tonto, sort of. Oh, whatever. That'll probably get me demonetized. Well, not that I'm monetized, but marked for being explicit content. Just kind of a little annoyance sort of thing here. Almost all of my videos where I've basically cut rope. They have determined that it does not meet YouTube's guidelines, and all of them are marked as explicit. So, unless you're subscribed to the channel or whatever, they won't show up. I don't know why. All it is me cutting rope. I'm not talking about anything else to do with it. I'm not making any crazy gestures or referring to them as weaponry. But that's what happened with, almost all of them. And completely ignored any of my attempts for having them review them manually. So that's probably a reason why you haven't seen a whole lot of those, because, well, they're not really going to be super useful if not a whole lot of people can see them. So I'll figure that out a little bit later, because I know other people, like Pete over at Cedric and Ada, or maybe just Ada now. That's sad. Oh, well, whatever. He has no problems with it, and he, makes eye contact with the camera while he's doing his cutting and whatnot. He just has, 8 and 16-bit video game music playing in the background. So, I don't know. Yeah, we'll figure that out at some other later date. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. And let's grow.